mentioned, it's medical devices and medical services. Our first panelist is Dr. Madhu Bhaskaran, Medical Director, North Shore University Hospital Transplant Center. And our other speaker here is Dr. C.S. Pitchumoni, Associate Program Director, St. Peter's Healthcare System, New Brunswick, New Jersey. In fact, the order is kind of reversed. I just understand that Dr. C.S. Pitchumoni is going to start the session.
Thank you very much for the invitation. Our talk is going to be somewhat different from the business aspects of technology. Medical technology is a double-edged sword. Most of you may know that. The best example is ultrasound that is being misused in many parts of northern India, where it is mostly being used to identify the sex of the fetus for female infanticide. And all over India, people will agree that unwanted technological growth in the form of CAT scans and ultrasounds in a very small town, it only breeds jealousy and exploitation of the poor people when a test is not needed. On the other hand, technology has tremendously improved and saved the lives of millions of people. In 1947, the average life expectancy of an Indian was 33. Today it is 70 plus. It is mainly because of technological improvement, early diagnosis of diseases, prompt intervention, and the quality of care that is being rendered in a large number of multi-speciality hospitals in India. And some of these hospitals are considered to be superior to hospitals even in the United States. Now, epidemiology, my title is an epidemiological approach to technology in Kerala. What is epidemiology? It is the science of the incidence and prevalence of diseases that gives the policymakers to know where to invest money and where the invested money will go a waste. Say, for example, we don't want to spend money on malaria control in the United States. That is because you know it doesn't exist here. So we have to know what is the situation in Kerala. I will just list the problems: obesity, diabetes, hypertension, stroke, heart attack, and other three I'm not going to talk about. Alcoholism, accidents, and suicide, we are not going to talk about it. Now, the discussion will mostly on the first three problems. Most of us have not understood that in terms of obesity, India ranks number 3 in the world. That's amazing, because when I was a medical student, we thought malnutrition was the most prevalent problem and children were all underweight. And I myself, when I passed high school, I look at my high school diploma, I was 73 pounds in weight. I don't think any high school student in the US will be 73 pounds in weight. Now, according to a study in Lancet, India is just behind US and China in obesity. It is hard to believe, but the fact remains that obesity is the basis of many other diseases, and we have listed. And all these diseases are chronic ailments which will reduce the life expectancy, or whatever we have achieved, it will be lost in a few years if you don't properly control. Now, where do we stand with regard to obesity? Kerala. I'm sure you wouldn't believe it if I say Kerala is number 1 or number 2. Number 1 is Punjab. Number 2 is Kerala. Number 2 is Kerala in the prevalence of obesity. And we have many similarities with Punjab and Most of Punjab ranks number 1 in alcoholism. Kerala perhaps is not too far behind. One big difference is Punjabis don't smoke. Sikhism is it prevents cigarette smoking. But in South India, there is no such thing. So we have cigarette smoking and alcoholism. Although cigarette smoking is good for us, decreasing in incidence. You can look at the rank listing of all the other states with regard to obesity. Consequences, quickly, I don't want to waste my time. Type 2 diabetes, blood pressure, heart disease, stroke. With regard to heart disease, many years ago, Dr. Enas started the study on coronary artery disease in Indians, and I was also part of it. And he recognized that Kerala stands number 1 in India. And he may even say Kerala is number 1 in the world. But whatever it is, we have a very high incidence of heart disease. While in this country, mortality due to heart disease has come down, it hasn't come down in India. And if you look at that, there are liver disease, kidney problems, pregnancy-related problems. They are all related to obesity. Now, if I ask my colleague of mine, doctors, I'm not talking about the lay people, how much you weigh, he would say, I have not recently weighed myself. And this is the answer that most of my non-medical friends would also say, that I don't weigh myself. I know I am a little bit overweight, but I don't want to check it. Now that is because there is, if you look at that, this self-evaluation with regard to body weight, we don't want to know if we are overweight or not. But what is wrong in knowing about it? If the market is going to crash tomorrow, I would like to sell my stocks as early as possible. If your obesity is going to cause heart attack, why don't you know about it earlier by checking your blood pressure? But in Kerala, where do you have to go to check your blood pressure? If I am in Tampa, I can go to a supermarket, put my arm inside and get my blood pressure checked. Do we have such facilities all over Kerala in temples and in churches and other places wherever people congregate for self-evaluation? If a kid is known to have high blood pressure, the kid can be treated appropriately, but that is not happening now. Patients' awareness has been recognized as one of the important parameters. I believe you cannot see the slide properly. And awareness is the most important thing in prevention of diseases. And in order to be aware, you need facilities for self-evaluation of blood pressure. So if I am going to invest money in a business that will help the community, not people to make money, I will make this self-evaluation of weight and blood pressure available everywhere, so that the moment you realize that the blood pressure is high, you will seek treatment. Some people will tell me that will produce anxiety. Yes, it will produce anxiety. If the market is going to collapse, it is going to produce anxiety. But you can react to that if you know that. So that is what I will say. Overweight goes largely unrecognized. Only 10% of the people recognize that they are overweight. Why? They look at the American table for height weight, and by American table we are not overweight, but that table is not applicable to us, and you don't have to read that, but there is a new parameters for identification of obesity in Indians, in the Filipinos, in Chinese. So we cannot go by the American standard and say, I am well within the normal limits. Now if you look at that, India market for obesity management, those people who are talking about investment now, they have to look at this. This is a picture that I got recently, and in every town now, very strangely in Bombay, in Chennai and in every other place, obesity surgery is taking over heart surgery because people are making money. This has become one of the most important problems in India. Now, I mentioned that it can lead to kidney problems, blood pressure, stroke, etc. Now, data from one study representative of many, this says that in the elderly, if you see, a large percentage, 30% had diabetes. This is one of the highest, and this is from a Malayalam newspaper that you can read. It says, Madhubhumi, Keralathil moonil oralka prameham, Mumbil Palakkad. I don't know whether there is anybody from Palakkad here.
Yes.
Yes, my wife is from Palakkad. Okay? So, Mumbil Palakkad and Keralathil moonil oralka prameham. So, we are number one. We can take pride in it. Okay? Number one in obesity, number one in alcoholism, number one in prameham. Now, the Know Your Body program. The Know Your Body program is something that we have to create. Everybody should know where we are with regard to our weight, with regard to our height, with regard to cholesterol, with regard to blood pressure. We have to know that. And facilities should be created for that. Now, if you look at that, again, there is another study that shows hypertension is very high. Many years ago, about 50 years ago, there was a Dr. Malhotra who worked in railways, and he said South Indians have more blood pressure than North Indian, more hypertension than North Indians. Now, blood pressure monitoring has to be made available, and all these devices are available, and this I would like to, the next speaker will expand on that. Kidney failure is very common, secondary to diabetes in Kerala, but only 5% of renal patients in Kerala get dialysis. So this is an area where my colleague will expand on the topic. Thank you very much.
Next speaker is Dr. Madhu Bhaskaran, MD, Medical Director, North Shore University, Hospital Transplant Center. Great to meet you.
Thank you. It's truly a privilege to be here today, and thank you for the invitation to speak today. I really owe my first job to Dr. Pitchumoni. I don't know if he realized it or not. I met him on my first day of my interviews for residency in the turn of the last century, and my next interview was at a hospital in Bronx where the gastroenterologist, Dr. Bloom, who interviewed me, asked me, "Do you know Dr. Pitchumoni?" And I told him I just met him yesterday for the first time, and that was it, and that sealed the job, and and here I am. So my topic today is very dear to me, and we'll talk about organ failures and their management. And as Dr. Pitchumoni mentioned, of course this is before the recent Ebola epidemic, but non-communicable diseases were, in the front line of all healthcare issues, but I can see that it's all replaced in the last month or so. But I think it's going to come back because it is, still the #1 cause of morbidity and mortality in the world. So what do we know about kidney disease? As a nephrologist, I will start with kidney disease, which could be a litmus test for chronic diseases. And we have very little data. If we talk about epidemiology, this is an area of great need from India in general and Kerala in particular. If anyone can convince Dr. Salim Yusuf, who is holding on to all the samples from Kerala, to study the creatinine, which he said he's not planning to do anytime soon because of his interest is cardiovascular disease. So we will have more data for sure. But meanwhile, we can see how the International Society of Nephrology is approaching kidney disease. What they did recently to look at acute kidney injury in the world is they took a global snapshot. What it means is each physician, nephrologist who saw a patient with acute kidney injury, they asked them what was the cause of that, and then they recorded it during a period between September and October for a period of about 2 weeks. And then they looked at that data, and I think that's a great model to get a quick idea of what's happening in the field of kidney disease in Kerala, and we are planning to do that. Anyone wants to participate, please let me know. If you look at cause of kidney disease in India, it's like anywhere in the world, it's mostly diabetes, hypertension, and this is not at all the case as was published about, say, 25 years ago. Dr. Mani's paper from South India about the most important cause of kidney disease was chronic interstitial nephritis, and we never even considered diabetics for transplant, whereas it is the #1 cause of end-stage renal disease getting transplanted in India now. And there are a few studies of late that has done some work, and we have some, basic data about kidney disease, and the kidney disease prevalence is quite high. It's about 20%. I mean, this is a comparison to about, 5 to 10% in some other parts of the world. And this phenomenal organ, which is getting a lot less, reputation than it should really. It does magical work. To look at some of the things the kidney does, it filters blood, it synthesizes hormones, and maintains acid, base, and fluid balance. And one of my friends who's a nephrologist and a writer, he laments about how much literature is talking about heart and brain and nothing much about kidney. So it's like Benjamin Franklin. The kidney does a lot. Like artist, scientist, postmaster, author, printer, musician, political theorist, satirist, inventor, civic activist, diplomat, statesman. And the list goes on, and so is the function that kidney does. And if you look at the renal replacement therapy, not a lot has changed. The looks of dialyzers have changed, of course. Colf dialyzer, the modified Colf dialyzer, there's not a big modification, or improvement, as you can see. But whereas the next stage dialyzer, which is a portable machine, which is currently available, it looks quite different, and I'm sure the patient feels a lot different too. And when the kidney is connected, nothing can beat this organ. You can make any type of sophisticated machine, but this machine that we did not make actually does a much better job at everything. So the success of transplantation speaks for itself, and you can see living donation is quite safe. You can see the first donor here with a surgeon who participated in the first transplantation. He donated his identical twin. He did quite well. After many years, the donor was still doing fine and lived up to his late 80s. And so did the surgeon. And so he called it the surgery of the soul. So things have changed a lot in the field of transplant. We can transplant among individuals who are not really identical twins. Otherwise, I wouldn't have a job as a transplant nephrologist if I was looking for all identical twins. So this is not really plastic surgery, even though it looks quite like a plastic surgery. Dr. Kawusi, who did the first laparoscopic live donor nephrectomy, and this is, you can see the results are quite cosmetic. And the result on the recipient is even more cosmetic if you have a look at the patient before and after transplant. So there are technical improvement, and you could actually put the instruments and take the kidney out through the same small incision now, and this is one of the techniques that they have developed at the hospital where I work. And there are many improvements in the organ transportation, because we ship kidneys across states in the United States, which is quite a big distance, and across countries in Europe. And the primitive instruments they used to transport kidneys, it led to many satirical, humoristic cartoons, but things have changed. And you can see the Wi-Fi connected satellite tracking device, which can also carry the kidney, and I'm sure, and you can see all these numbers on the dial on an internet connected computer from anywhere, if you have the IP address for this device. And it's available, and it's used in almost all the transplants done in New York. They don't ship it in flights, mostly because it contains lithium batteries. Okay, and we have very eminent economics involved, because paired exchange allows better matched kidney to be transplanted, and also unmatched pairs to be combined. And there are people who are working on xenotransplantation. You can see this is David Sachs from Mass General, who's getting an award. He's looking on, and this is the cartoon of xenotransplantation. But we may not be that far, because this pig has a lot like the kidneys at least look a lot like that of human, and he's looking on to that's his product. And if you see what Sanjay Nigam, who actually won the Indian Nephrologist Society Award yesterday at the American Society of Nephrology, and he also was the winner of the Young Investigator Award from American Society of Nephrology. He actually, this is a schematic representation of how he learned about the genetic signaling that happens along the development of kidney. And even though this shows a representative, this is actually a real picture of the kidney tissue that implanted underneath the skin of a rat. And you can see it forms the subunits of kidney. If you know the histology of kidney, this looks a lot like kidney. And he says, when I talk to him, how far have we gone now? He says it's a complicated field. So, and then there are other scientists. Again, you can see some Indian genes in that person also, and they do organ regeneration. This is a lung, which is who is the patient of this cardiothoracic surgeon, which is connected to a machine, and this machine actually keeps the lung alive while they can operate, give it antibiotics, remove tumors, and make it operable. And of course, there are 3D printing of organs. I mean, so far, all the patients will ask about this, but you can at best make a scaffolding on which you have to grow the cells. And the bio-artificial organs, the kidneys, so far they have gone as, it's like a box. It does a lot like a kidney, but it doesn't really replace full kidney function. They use it as a bridge device. And wearable artificial kidney, it's still more than 10 pounds in weight, and it does not exactly like that of kidney. And liver, again, this may be the best opportunity to create a new organ by, decellularizing the organ and repopulating with stem cells and actual cells. And I cannot not speak about pancreas when Dr. Pitchumoni is sitting here. And these are the islet cells. In fact, this can cure diabetes. And of course, social access and access gap is an issue that we may have to deal with, whether we are in the United States or in Kerala. Okay? And of course, I'll stop at this. In bioengineering and organogenesis, we have nature, physics, mathematics, and engineering and design of products. We have nature, biology, biochemistry, bioengineering, and organogenesis. And biotechnology, nanotechnology, and biochemistry together, it might give us artificial organs. So, as the speaker earlier said, different parts of the world could part of the same panoramic picture, and they may look a lot alike. And we certainly hope so in terms of quality of healthcare. Thank you.
Two excellent speakers, again, a lot of interesting and alarming statistics about conditions in Kerala, as well as some new ways of approaching medicine in that part of the world. Yeah. Clearly, there's an opportunity in the area of self-diagnostics and so on that we can consider for Kerala. I'm sure there are other opportunities that you're thinking of. Please be open for questions now. Yeah.
I will start a question.
Yeah.
It's a two-stage question. I know medical tourism is becoming quite big in Kerala. All over India, but even in Kerala. Places like Amrita and several other institutes are providing sophisticated surgery. But again, post-surgery taking care of, that is very poor. How we can help in improving that? That's question number one. And it's to both of you. And second question is, Madhu mentioned about organ transplant and all this new sophistication. Can Kerala go into something like robotic surgery or new things in surgery in some of the institutes? What do you think about the prospects in that direction?
With regard to technology, particularly in surgery, India has advanced tremendously. The world's best gallbladder surgeon is not in the US, he is in New Delhi, Chaubey. Dalai Lama had the option of going anywhere in the world for gallbladder surgery, but he chose the best place. If you see the ranking of surgical centers in the world, India comes number 1 for gallbladder surgery. Among the 10 top nations, America comes number 9, number 10 is Mexico. So, there are certain areas where we have advanced tremendously, but that does not mean the middle class people or the poor person gets the advantage of this development at all. This is the major problem. Technology is being tremendously misused in India. With regard to the medical tourism, it works in certain areas. Plastic surgery, dentistry, and in organ transplantation also, although the unrelated donor, particularly for kidney, this is banned in India. You cannot you cannot bring a donor from the roadside and buy a kidney, but it is happening. As you know, India is a country where regulation is too difficult. Whether postoperative care is appropriate or not, if you spend the right amount of time, it could be appropriate, but it happens. Recently we had a relative of ours who went to India, got a brain surgery, came back with infection, and for the next 1 month she had meningitis here. So this is right. Whether appropriate care is being given, it is because different centers differ markedly. Amrita may not be same as some other place or vice versa.
I have a question. Madhu.
Yeah, I just want to.
Eva?
Okay, it's on.
I just want to add to that. I mean, I think the first step in any advancement is to establish the presence of care, you know, and thankfully we have that. In fact, our transplant surgeons went to India to see robotic transplant because that's where the, you know, highest numbers are being done. And that's true of most transplanters. They're sending their surgeons to Gujarat to see Dr. Pranjal Modi, who has done the largest number of robotic kidney transplants, and they go and get experience from them. And so first, you know, for example, I just want to talk about kidney disease. I mean, Kerala has started providing, establishing dialysis centers in district hospitals and so on. There's some criticism about the quality of care. But, you know, we can't throw quality at them until they have established first the presence of care. I mean, they will shut down and that will not serve anybody. What we have to do is to set up you set up the village to have, you know, 1 or 2 dialysis centers where we are able to maintain the kind of quality we want to see across, I mean, like it is anywhere in the world, and then train everybody else. I'm sure no one does it because they don't, you know, they don't want to provide quality. But first, you have to establish care and you have to encourage that. So, you know, I think like this post-operative care, I mean, we have to lead by example by setting up such standards and show that, you know, this is what is expected if you have to reach the top tier in the world.
I would like to add a comment. The best diabetes center in the world is again in Chennai by a Keralite, Dr. V. Mohan. He has, as of now, he has 300,000 patients. Every patient's history is well documented. He has a satellite van that goes to villages, and he's doing a great service, well recognized all over the world as the best center for diabetes. So there is quality in India in many places.
I have a question.